We're all chasing something, right? That next promotion, a bigger paycheck, the perfect life we see online. But what if the very goals we're chasing are actually pushing happiness further away? Well, today we're going to dig into a psychological theory that might just flip the script on everything you thought you knew about success. So let's just get right to it. Think about the classic American dream. The money, the fame, the perfect image. We're taught from day one that this is the blueprint for a good life. But what if it's not? What if it's actually a kind of psychological trap? Believe it or not, for decades now, a group of psychologists have been building a pretty solid case against our modern definition of success. And their work, called goal contents theory, basically suggests that the very goals society pushes on us, well, they might be the things making us feel empty. To really get why, we have to rewind a bit and look at where this whole idea came from. So this theory really started to take shape back in the 80s, the whole greed is good era. It was a time of big hair, big shoulder pads, and an even bigger focus on money and stuff. And this huge cultural shift got researchers thinking, hey, what is all this materialism actually doing to our well-being? Okay, so let's get into the heart of it, because the theory's main idea is really simple. When it comes to our big life goals, we're essentially choosing between two very, very different paths. Path number one is all about what we call intrinsic goals. These are the things you do just for the pure satisfaction of doing them. Like learning to play the guitar because you love music, or getting involved in your community because you want to make a difference. The reward is the activity itself. And path number two? It's the complete opposite. It's about extrinsic goals. These are the things you do to get something else in return, an external reward. Think about grinding away at a job you can't stand just for the paycheck, or obsessing over social media posts just for the likes. Here, the focus isn't on the doing, it's on the getting. And this table just lays it out so clearly. On one side, you've got goals about growing as a person, building deep relationships, and contributing to something bigger than yourself. And on the other, it's all about financial success, being famous, looking good, and having power. It really boils down to the difference between wanting to be more versus wanting to have more.
So this is where it gets really important. Why? Why does this split matter so much? What's the actual engine that drives our well-being?
Well, it all comes down to what the theory calls our basic psychological needs. Just think of them like emotional vitamins. Intrinsic goals are like a super healthy diet. They give us exactly the nutrients we need to feel alive and well. Extrinsic goals? They're more like junk food. Sure, you get a quick rush, but in the long run, they leave you feeling unsatisfied and malnourished. So what are these crucial vitamins? Well, first, there's autonomy. That feeling that you're the one steering your own ship, that your choices are your own. Then there's competence, which is that deep satisfaction you get from feeling like you're good at what you do, that you're capable and effective. And finally, there's relatedness, the simple, powerful need to feel genuinely connected to other people. And you can totally see this play out. Let's say you decide to learn a new skill. Right there, that's you exercising your autonomy. As you start to get the hang of it, you build your competence. And if you join a group or take a class to do it, you're building relatedness. See? It's like a perfect recipe for genuine happiness. And look, this isn't just some nice idea. It's backed by a ton of research. A really big study followed people after graduation and found something fascinating. The people who achieved their intrinsic goals, like personal growth, felt happier. But the people who achieved their extrinsic goals, like making a lot of money, didn't get that same boost in well-being. So it turns out money really can't buy happiness, but maybe personal growth can. So that brings up a huge question, right? If intrinsic goals are so much better for us, why are so many of us chasing the extrinsic ones? Where do these goals even come from? A big part of it seems, goes way back to our childhood. If you grew up in a really supportive environment where your parents encouraged you to explore your own interests, you're just more likely to value those intrinsic things. But on the flip side, if you grew up in a more controlling environment, you might have learned early on that you need to seek approval and validation from the outside world through things like money and status. But of course, it isn't just about our parents. We are swimming in a culture that screams at us 24/7 that we need more stuff, more followers, more money to be happy. We're called consumers, not citizens. I mean, with that kind of constant messaging, how can you not be influenced? So, let's bring this all home. Now that we get the theory, what does it mean for us? How can we use this to redraw our own maps? Here it is, the single biggest takeaway from all of this. The what of your goals, the content, can actually be more important for your well being than whether or not you even succeed at them. Think about that. It's better to chase a meaningful goal and fall short than to achieve an empty one. And get this, here's something wild from the research. Offering people an extrinsic reward, like money, to do a task can actually make them less motivated and perform worse than offering them no reason at all. It just goes to show you how incredibly powerful our own internal drive really is. And this isn't just about our own personal happiness either. The research is pretty clear. When people focus on intrinsic goals, they don't just feel better, they act better. They tend to be more cooperative, more empathetic, and even more concerned about the environment. So it really has a ripple effect. So I want to leave you with one final question to think about. Just take a look at your own life. What intrinsic goals, those things that are about growth or connection or community, might you be pushing to the side in the race for something extrinsic? The answer to that question just might be your personal map to a much more fulfilling life.